Well, good morning streamers. Sunday morning, and I thought I'd do a little live stream just to see how things were. I've got a few Prussians I want to get finished today. I've also got some of these covering fire things which I'm going to do first. These I got from Sabotaged 3D. They are nice printed 3D resin things, 4 inches long, and they are for chain of command. So I think I'm going to do these first. First of all, I'm just going to wash them. I already painted them green yesterday, so I just painted them in a base green. I'm going to wash them in brown, and then they are going to get dry brushed with yellow. So they'll probably finish these off at some point today, but the actual painting itself is going to take a little bit long. Well, the painting is going to be quick. It's just the drying is going to take a little while. So I'll do this very simply with some Vallejo flat brown and water, and it's a nice, simple, easy wash that I'm going to do them on. First of all, I'm going to put them on a cloth so I don't get rubber and don't get paint everywhere. If you're watching, say hello. I can see three people are currently watching at least. I was going to play a game of square bashing today live, but I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not in the mood. So I thought I want to get these Prussians finished as much as anything else. So that was kind of today's goal. Morning beyond, should I say. So let me just show you how I'm going to do this. It's a very simple old school technique, which is always the best way. So basically, flat earth, get a lot of that out, a bit of water, more water than paint, get a big brush, give that a good mix so that when you pull it, when you drag it across the palette there, it's almost see-through. I still need a little bit more water in that just to get in all those nooks and crannies. So this, I'm just washing these nice and easily. There we go. You see there that it's kind of almost see-through on this. So literally then just daub it on. I'm going to have to go back because there's obviously an end point where I can hold them. So it's this simple really. It's just a very simple quick wash. And once this is dry, as I say, I'm going to dry brush this in yellow, which will then bring out all the colours. Just give it a blow on there. There's bubbles and things in that, but they will disappear once the paint dries. Nice and simple job to quickly get these things done. These are really nice from Sabotage Printing. I always forget about covering fire in chain of command, and it is one of the things you should use quite a lot. Really, I always forget about it being there. It basically just keeps the head down of the enemy. It's just one of those things. No dish soap. No, don't need it. Don't need it at all. Not when you're doing it this basic. It's a nice and easier technique than if I was doing it on a model or something. I'd probably use dish soap, but in this case, no. There we go. Working our way through. We're getting there. Morning, Terry. Good to have you on board. Anyone else painting anything this morning? This rainy Sunday morning? It's a bit of a miserable day today, as it was yesterday as well. So I just thought, well, I'll do a bit of painting this morning. Adrian, hello. Have you played Northag Battle Group? No, I've seen Northag being played down at the my club that I go to. Some of the guys play that, but I've never played Battle Group. I'm not that interested, to be honest, from what I've seen of it. Each to their own at the end of the day, but yeah, it's not really my thing. It looks a little, from what I can see, it feels a little old school in its approach, and I'm not particularly bothered about it. But if that's what you like, that's what you like. And again, just to say that I'm probably getting a bit of lag on this broadcast, so do bear with me if I don't answer you immediately. I get the message, and then it's usually a few seconds have gone by before I actually get a chance to reply to you. Still painting stuff for square bashing. Nice one. Yeah, I was actually going to play a game of square bashing today, Terry. I thought about it, but then I decided not to. So I'm just not in the mood for a game. I played a couple of games yesterday. I played Through the Mud and the Blood for a video, and then I also played Arkham Horror just for myself. So I'm kind of gamed out at the moment. But I might set up a live game of square bashing down the week. It's kind of already set up, ready to go, so it's not going to take a great deal of effort just to do it. We'll see how the week goes. Because I did buy this camera in the first place for that kind of thing. Right, so that's them half done, so I'll just stick them to one side until they dry. Or at least they're dry enough that I can finish off the rest of them, and then I can deal with those later. And as I say, now I've got these Prussians to do. This is my next thing. As you can see, I've already done quite a bit on these already. I've got the blue on, got white on. Well, I'm going to need to do some white. I did the flesh. What's next? The next big thing I think is probably going to be maybe black, I think. And a couple of the bits and bits. Be watching my videos for inspiration. Oh, thank you. There is another square bashing video coming soon, actually. I recorded one a little while ago, so keep your eyes out for that. It's a great old game. Always enjoy playing it. Battle Group's your favourite World War II gaming system. Probably actually a favourite system overall. There you go. It does have fans. As I say, not my bag, but each to their own. We have a broad enough church in this hobby, as some say. Just checking the cat behind me. Alright, as I said, I want to just get some black done on these first of all. So I'm just going to work my way through these. And doing a bit of a paint and chat is always good for me forcing myself to actually paint some stuff, because these have been sat here for a little while now, and I'm getting fed up of looking at them. So I want to get them done and out of the way if I can. This is only half of them as well. I've still got the other half of the infantry to do, and cavalry as well. So it's not. So the quicker I get them done. Normally I move on things pretty fast. I normally get things painted up almost after they've come through the door, really. So I don't like stuff sitting about, and I don't really like having a lead mount in, because I'd rather just get, I buy things to game with them. So I'd rather have them on the table. I'm just going to move this light one moment so I can actually see what I'm doing. There we go, that's better. Just got the light in a funny position. And they're Landwehr as well, so they're pretty simple to paint. There's not a huge amount of detail on them, because they're they've got pretty simple uniforms. And being this small as well, so I don't know why I haven't just sat down and bashed them out. So I thought, that's why I know I'll do a paint and a chat and try and get them as finished as I can, or close to. It's going to take a little while, because obviously there is a lot of drying times and stuff. There you go. move that light up so you can't see my my forehead is not blinding you. There we go, that's better, I think. If you're watching, say hello. Say hello in the chat. Also, don't forget, give me a like if you're watching this. I was very surprised at how well the recent Blucher video did with Miles. It's currently running up on nearly 2,000 views and I only put it out on Friday. It's probably one of my fastest views videos. It's the Little Wars effect. Every time Little Wars either mention me or I do something with them on their channel, they my views and my subscriptions go through the roof. It's a real spike. It's great. Don't mind it at all. And you know, normally I'll probably get about, I don't know, maybe like 10 subscribers a day or something thereabouts. Little Wars, the Little Wars effect means I end up with about 30 or 40. You're all very quiet out there, all of you watching. This is your chance to ask anything about what I'm painting, why I'm painting it, what's the next thing for the channel. I don't actually know, to be perfectly honest. More games. I am going to be making a video of painting these Prussians. One of the things I do them in batches is because the first half is me teaching myself how to paint them. The second half is me then filming me painting them. If that makes sense. At least it makes sense to me. And that is the most important thing, I guess. Has anything else been happening in the world of people's gaming? Has anybody else been able to get down to clubs or face-to-face gaming resuming and things? People also seem to enjoy the Bag the Hun game that I played as well the other day, which was nice. I've not played Battle Group, but wondering if there's an opinion. Currently reading through Northag. Well, Beyond's your man. He seems to be the one into it. Like I say, I've only really seen it from afar. I've never played it. I've just not been not too fussed about it. Perhaps I ought to try. No, I'm not that. Look, if you get 1 subscriber a week. Well, you just have to post everywhere, Beyond. That's all you can do. That's what I do, is just saturate the market with your videos. The more people that know about it, the better. And I post everywhere and anywhere. Forums, social media, on YouTube itself. Although I always forget to do that bit. Tell us, Bjorn, what's so good about Battle Group if it's your favourite? What are the interesting mechanics in the game? What makes it the favourite? Some of these lads are barefoot, but you can hardly tell. It's a bit difficult to see which is which. This guy's barefoot. I don't think I've painted him barefoot. He certainly looks like he is anyway. I'll come back to him. So the problem with having incredibly beautifully detailed models, you kind of want to paint all the little details on them. You feel bad for missing bits out. Dee. When you say Beyond, it's because it's more historical. It's not made to be played with even armies, and the morale system is excellent. Okay, more historical than. I'm not even entirely sure what level it is at, actually. I very rarely play games with balanced armies. Some game systems, point systems are useful. Like in square bashing, for example. I generally always fall back on the point system. But even then, they're not equally matched. You have an attacker and a defender. One has more points than the other. And stuff like chain of command, you obviously got your 4 supports and things, but you know, the basic platoons are completely and utterly historical and as unbalanced as historical wargaming should be. You can play a battle group on several sides. As we play quite small skirmishes, usually others play it with 4 or 5 times the armies. Okay. But I mean, is it 1-to-1 scale? Is it or are the figures and the numbers scaled differently? Well, I'm certainly getting through these guys at the moment, which is nice. It's going to be for sharp practice. I've not played that for a little while. More historical Flames of War. Yeah, everything is more historical than Flames of War. At the end of the day, that's a tournament game, isn't it? If you like perfectly balanced sides. Again, I've seen lads at the club playing it and it just felt a wee bit gamey. Just thought, you know, not my bag. I suppose if you want loads of tanks on the table, then that's your game. But at that scale, I prefer to play I Ain't Been Shot Mum. I think they're about the same scale, Flames of War and I Ain't Been Shot Mum. Sorry, just been a bit quiet while I'm concentrating on these hats. Don't want to make a mess of the hat. Go on, you 6 folks watching, give me a shout out, say hello. I know this, I thought I'd drop this in as a little surprise. Paint and chat. Oh, I missed his coat, unfortunately. 1-to-1 scale. What I also like is it's not built for tournament play at all. It's almost impossible to go to competitive armies in that sense. Good. Yeah, I've never understood tournament gaming. But as with everything, each their own. Some people like it, some people thrive on it. I'm just more interested in the story of the game. Winning or losing doesn't matter. Here's a question for you. What's with variable movements, variable turns and rolling dice for orders, etc.? Is there too much of a random element in many new games? No, I don't think there's enough random elements, to be honest. Yeah, I guess you're talking there about things like chain of command. Well, random movement, let's go through each one at a time. Random movement gets my vote every time, literally because nobody, no matter how well drilled, moves at a set amount all the time. And so if you have 6 inches of movement for infantry, let's say, and you have a farmhouse that is 12 inches away, then you know straight away you will be there in 2 turns. So you basically go, right, okay, well, I can get there in 2 turns, and as long as I can do that, then that's it, you know, I've captured that farmhouse or whatever. With random movement, let's take chain of command or any of the laddies, for example, because they're the ones that do the random movements. You've got a choice of either 1 dice, 2 dice, 3 dice. You know that 1 dice you've got is rather random because you've got between 1 and 6. However, 2 dice you have the bell curve, so you know on average you'll probably move around 7 inches on average, and then with 3 dice that increases, I think, to about 12 or so. But in the larder games you get a penalty for moving that fast, so you take shock because you become disorganised. So you've got a choice, and you can try to reach that farmhouse that is 12 inches away. You could go, right, okay, well, I'm going to charge at it with my three dice, and I will most likely reach it, but I will also take a penalty for doing so. But then you can say, right, okay, well, I'm going to try with 2 dice. I will probably get halfway there, so it might take me 2 turns, but I might also actually reach it as well, because there's a chance I might roll double 6 and then get to the farmhouse. Because the thing is, with random movements, it's replicating what is also happening on the battlefield. It's not just a case of, oh, you can only move between 1 and 6 inches. There are other troops out there that are trying to stop you moving on the enemy side. Also, when you're advancing as well, you're probably advancing cautiously. You might be hearing noises stopping to check things out. There might be some rough ground that you're trying to cross, that you can't cross as fast as you would if it was a paved road, for example. Soldiers trying to stay in a relative formation together is slowing things down, because they're all trying to keep up with one another, and you only keep up with the slowest. So calling it random movements is not really, it's variable movements, it's not random, because as I say, you can kind of judge it by going, right, I'm rolling 2 dice, I will then get a couple of, there's a good chance I'll move 7 inches, I might move 8, I might move 6, but I'm going to be some way across, and I might move all the way. Where's the other ones? What were the other questions? Rolling dice for orders. Well, again, the thing, let's talk about chain of command here, because that's really the dice rolling for orders. The way that it works is you have to be quite clever as to how you're using those orders. So you can tip it in your balance, and if you have, say for example, a section commanded by a junior leader with a senior leader close by, and your section is broken into 2 teams, when you roll the dice in chain of command, you can activate a team on a 1, you can activate the section on a 2, you can activate your junior leader on a 3, and you can actually activate your senior leader on the 4. So using all of those dice, you've got a 4 in 6 chance of being able to activate at least 1 team, and then you've got a half a chance, 50% chance of being able to activate all of them, because you can activate them by either by the section, or by the junior leader, or by the senior leader. So it's keeping you on your toes for having your leaders close by, which is historically accurate, and it means that they are fighting relatively historically accurately, because you're keeping on that chain of command to ensure that all of the men are doing the thing they're supposed to be doing, and are being led by the men who are supposed to be leading them. If you split up your sections, so you've got a section just stuck out on its own, then that can only operate on anywhere between 1 and 3. Well, you've got a team that can operate on between a 1 and a 3, but you're reducing the amount of options you've got. So I don't think it's not really random, because you are still getting a chance at doing something, most likely. I say for 2/3 of a chance when you roll the dice on each dice to actually be able to do something. And obviously there is the luck element, where you may end up just rolling a load of 6s, which, although you retain the phase, you can't do anything, but you still get rewarded for that anyway, because there are random events, and you also get chain of command dice as well on top of it, which also allow you to do things. So it's about, again, it's not really thinking about it as being random, it's more about thinking about it, using it in a historical way. And if there's plenty of examples in battles where throughout history where entire units have never done anything. Look at Derlon's corps during the Battle of Quatre Bras on the 16th of June 1815. All they did was march between Ligny and Quatre Bras all day. They had absolutely no effect on either of the battles, apart from to make the commanders wonder who they were, because they couldn't identify them. So you've got things like that, that are happening in reality. So the fact that you might not get to activate all of your units in a turn, or all of your units even in a game, is still pretty historically accurate, because you can say, well, that's down to command and control and people not being in the right place at the right time. There's all kinds of things. I mean, the old I go, you go. It's almost like, it's like chess, really, isn't it? It's like everything can move, and it can always move at these certain set speeds, and at these certain things they can always do the same thing. And to me, I prefer the lack of command and control that commanders actually have on the battlefield once things start to get hairy. You don't personally like tournament games. It may well be that it was competition gaming that brought clubs together at shows. Well, possibly, yeah. Prefer random orders, all the orders not going through all the time. Yeah, me too. I used to organise big 40k tournaments, including national championships, but I left all that behind now. Cool. In battle group, you get, for example, 2d6 orders, the amount of officers you have. So you always have a base level of orders. Yeah. That's similar to O group, in that you roll your dice for the orders, and you're most likely always going to get some. You might not get everything that you want, but you'll certainly get some, and I like that. And then things like you've got like sharp practice where there's a card activations, but you can also store cards as well for later in the turn. You can use them. It's like using combos of cards to do certain things. So all of a sudden you can get a bonus move, or you can get an attack on. You can quickly load, which again, these things happen like in real life. It's, as I say, it's not so much random as forcing you to think when you're using your troops and how to use them and what's the best time to use them and things. And also, just having that little bit of a breakdown of communications. So that's my thoughts on it. Basically, I never, I didn't like using dice for movement in the past, but now I've sat down and thought about it, and I've seen it on the tabletop and used it. It's just another part. I mean, we randomise. Nobody has two thoughts about randomising firing. Firing isn't done off a chart. A strict chart, is it? You roll a dice. You have a fire factor, and then you roll the dice against that factor. What's the difference with moving? There's not everyone is going to be firing at the same time, or not everyone is going to be aiming their weapon in the right place. So not everybody is going to be moving in the right place. Not everyone's going to be moving at the same speed. People are going to be stopping and looking around them, taking check of their situation as they move on from point to point. This is how you. Well, this is the way I see it, anyways. In random movement is that I keep saying random movements. Can't remember what phrase I gave it earlier, but yeah, it's it adds an extra dimension of the friction of the battlefield to the game, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. Good morning, Miles. How are you doing? I hope you're having a nice time with Augustus the dog. The video that you and I made, Miles, has broken all box office records. It's gone through the roof for views. It's just coming up on its 2000th view this morning. It was this morning when I checked. You've also increased my subscriber count by about another 50 or 60 people. So there must be something in your ways that are bringing all the boys to the yard. Your milkshake. What I like with the sharp practice deck is a tiffin card that can turn stuff any time. Yeah, well, I mean that's in every TFL game really, even to an extent in Chain of Command, where if you roll 5s and 6s, you can't do anything that turn, so it might pass over to your opponent. But yeah, the tiffin card, tea break card in what's it called, in I Ain't Been Shot Mum, Time for a Snifter, in Through the Mud and the Blood. One of the few ones that doesn't have it is Bag the Hun, I don't know if it's in. I'm assuming it's probably in Charlie Don't Surf, because that's based basically on what's it called, on I Am Being Shot More anyway. Watched one of your videos of O Group, and at one point some infantry ended up stationary between two woods and then got shot at. Realistically, wouldn't they keep going until they reach cover? Well, again, this is a thing. It's not each turn is not a specific set amount of time. They are obviously attempting to get to cover, and then they've been attacked as they are getting to cover. So it's an abstraction in the time. So the Germans have reacted to them, in that case, moving that far forward. And again, that just comes down to that the randomization of the movements just means that you've got to try it, and you've got to say, right, okay, well, that woodland is 8 inches away. I've got 2d6 of movement. Will I make it, or do I stay put? But in that case, I'm not sure which one you're talking about, because it's been a long time since I've watched any of those videos. Yeah, you're basically the bounds are not specific, time specific. So it's not like, right, this is 2 minutes. It means that the Germans have had a chance to react to you, to your movement, or your enemy has had a chance to react to it. And that's kind of how I see it. That's the way when things like that happen, it's entirely down to the player to decide how risky it is to make a manoeuvre across that ground, especially if it's been covered by the enemy. He's doing fine. Good. Imagine how good it would have done if I wasn't holding you back. Not at all, Miles. Not at all. They all came for you. There you might want to have a look at some of the comments on the video. I don't know if you've seen them recently. There's some interesting ones on there. I'll just say that you can follow up if you want. Yes, it's the Little Wars effect. As I was saying earlier, it certainly pushes my subscribers through the roof every time I have anything to do with you guys. Which is never a bad thing. What's on around 22? So yeah, that's my thoughts on randomised movements. I've got to keep saying, got to stop calling it randomised movement, because that just sounds too random. At the end of the day, I mean, it's only like playing. It's the same as Snakes and Ladders, for example. That's randomised movement, because you roll a dice or whatever, to move around the board, don't you? And nobody complains of that. And things like Monopoly and stuff, It took me a while to get comfortable with randomised movement as command friction, but it works. If the range is 2d6 too much, then tweak it. Yes, exactly. But the range isn't too much, I don't think, Miles. That's the thing. My point, your range on a 2d6 is going to be around, on average, anywhere between 6 and 8 inches, which is your average movement for most Wargames rules. You've got more chance of rolling between 6 and 8 than you have on anything else, because it's just that bill curve. But yes, you can easily tweak it if you want to give a +1 or something, or whatever else. Hi Maith, am I saying it right? Maith Mo. Try not to read comments. General made me weep for the future of our civilization. Yes, these ones will do. Somebody talking about Clausewitz as the last word on what Ney was up to at Quatre Bras. Yeah, I think there's been about 150 years worth of scholarly work on the Napoleonic Wars since that. Made me chuckle anyway. But yes, I'm a big fan of randomised movements. I would include it in pretty much any game that that I could these days, simply because I find now that using stock movement just doesn't feel right. It just feels like, oh right, I can get exactly there. I can reach that exact point. Yes, sorry, variable. That's my fault, Adrian. I wasn't having a go at you. Yes, variable is the right word. I did say it earlier, and then I forgot what I was saying. that was just me rattling on while I'm painting these little lads. Yes, you're right. Variable movement is the correct term. Here we go, Terry. Are you back in? I first came across the card-driven mechanics in an online set of rules called Where's Charlie? That was back in the 90s when each unit had a movement and a firing card in the deck. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Also, they used the equivalent of a T-break card actually before the Lardies, but I can't remember the author now. Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of that. But yes, I mean, I can imagine that kind of card activation works very well for the Vietnam War, especially if playing as the Americans. And it's interesting that they had both a movement and a firing card, because that is very Lardies. Perhaps that's what they... well, I don't know if that's what they were playing. And I've heard in interviews Nick saying that they were playing Body Count. That was the game of Vietnam that they played, which then they basically turned into... what's it called? Charlie Don't Surf, which in turn, I think... modelling for advantage. Hello, what's doing? Painting 15 or 18 mil in the real world. Prussians for the 100 Days campaign. Something for the French to chew up. Westphalian Landwehr. These are for sharp practice. I'm just working my way through them. I was going to play a live game of square bashing today, but then I'm just not feeling it. So I thought I'm going to force myself to do some painting, so I'll do a live paint and chat, and that will make me paint some stuff. That was the idea. So I thought I'll do this before lunch, as we're moving into midday. We'll try and get as much of these done as possible. We've been at it for 45 minutes so far, so I'm just trying to break the back of them really, just by block colouring them. They've been sat on the bench for about two or 3 weeks at this point. And I don't like it. They judge me. They sit there judging me. I don't like that. So that's the thing. Variable movement. So, did I answer your question, Adrian? What I think about variable movement and command randomization? Because again, even with using cards for activations, especially in stuff like sharp practice, for example, as I say, you get to bank those extra flag cards so you can just sit on them and use them, but you also have that gamble of, does the turn end before you get to actually use your cards? And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, right, well, I've got 3 cards here, so I could activate a leader, or I could wait for that 4th card and get a bonus on somebody who's already done something. You know, what do I do? And it's like, will the Tiffin card come up before I get my bonus, or should I just go for it now? So it kind of makes you just think on the spot, really, as the situation unfolds, and I like that. And again, that, you know, the randomization or variable movements also then activates on that, because you don't know where your enemy is going to be, so you've got to react to where they are going to end up being. Again, if you know that they can only move either 6 or 12 inches in a turn, you can think, right, okay, well, I know that they are going to be there. Good morning, Bob. Good to have you on board. I'm just painting their knapsacks now. I'm doing this in the same flat earth colour as their bases. So using the same colour here, but the bases are going to be covered anyway when they get flocked. Flock them off. If we can try and get these finished, I want to actually get them on the table at some point. That is my plan. But you know what they say about plans and mice and men and all that. What are other people's thoughts on variable movements and random order activations and things? Like them? Hate them? Personally, I just think anything that really gets you away from the I go, you go system. I go, you go's got its place in abstracted games, for example. Like I think in Blue Share that Miles and I were playing last week. I mean, you know, it seems to work well in that because the game is so abstracted at the level it's set at, you know, brigade level. But you also get the momentum anyway, so you already have a randomization of your orders. You don't know how many units you can actually order in the turn anyway. So you still get that kind of feel of it, you know, you still can't move everything that you want to. Well, these are coming along nicely, slowly, slowly. I might spend later on this afternoon trying to finish them, or at least getting them to the Agrax shade, if nothing else, shade stage, if nothing else. I really like Command Friction. I love how Blue Shore or General Dame do it. Yeah, I've never played General Dame, but having played O Group, there's plenty of friction in that as well with the dice. Modelling Fantasy, I think it's very important in skirmish games. Yeah, definitely in skirmish games. Yes, although instead of variable movement, I prefer the system used in Force on Force, when you can react before someone completes their move. That sounds a little similar to Crossfire, which I've never played, but I played my mate's Modern's variant of it, which is where you get to move from point to point and until somebody interrupts your turn or you do something wrong. You know, you fail a dice roll or something. I've never played. I've never played Force on Force. As a player, any mechanic where you lose control of your models is frustrating. Well, there is that, but then that is command, isn't it? You know, that's the point of it, isn't it? We're trying to emulate the friction of a battlefield. So, you know, for me, it's kind of adding, in inverted commas, a layer of realism into the game, which I know is almost impossible to actually gain, but General Armée is better in your opinion, as players can influence the odds via the allocation of ADCs. Players just starting to fix them. Yes, that sounds. Yeah, I suppose that's one thing maybe missing from Blucher is the fact that you can't actually influence it yourself as a player, or at least try to anyway. You just have the dice roll, don't you? You don't mind I go, you go, but it almost has to have variable amounts of orders. Yeah, again, I mean, you know, it has its place. Like O Group is I go, you go, a little bit, but you do get split up with the initiative, which again you can influence if you hold over HQ orders. You can add those into the mix and try to win the initiative for the turn. And stuff like square bashing, which I love, is an I go, you go. But then I played rapid fire for years, and that is a really old school I go, you go. And play it now, it just feels so clunky. It's like, okay, everything moves, everything fires, the enemy reacts, everything of the enemy moves, everything the enemy fires. Afternoon, Bernard. Okay, just found my set of Where's Charlie. They were written by a guy called Pete Jones. The card-driven mechanic came out of the 4th version of the rules. They won some sort of award in 1999. Okay, I wonder how influential they were for the Lardies then. If they were aware of them for... because that is just slightly before, isn't it? Too Far Lardy started. And I'd say, you know, they're probably one of the biggest proponents of card-driven activation. I was wondering whether all games are I Go You Go, as one player may go several times in a row than the other player, or am I missing something? Not really, Tim. Yeah, in the strictest sense, yes, a player takes a turn and the opposition takes a turn, no matter how many times the opposition have played. What we're meaning by I Go You Go is literally one turn. One player just takes a full turn, moves everything that they have on the table, fires everything that they are able to fire with on the table, and then everything stops and the other player takes a turn. Then they move everything that they are able to move, then they fire everything that they are able to fire, and then it goes back to the other player. So that's what I mean by I Go You Go. Yeah, I mean, in strictest term, whenever you're playing against somebody, it's always going to be one versus the other, but in game terms it means that you are able, you activate everything, fire everything, and then they activate everything, then they fire everything as well. If that makes sense. I suppose this discussion is one of the hot potatoes of wargaming. It's quite interesting. There was a discussion on Reddit about it the other day, really, about how games have developed. And if you look at the way that board games develop compared to historical, in particular, wargaming has developed, you know, they leave us behind in the weeds. Really, literally every new game that is produced has a new mechanic or a new way of doing things. They're incredibly innovative. Whereas a lot of war games, and I'm saying this a lot, you know, generalizing here massively, a lot stay the same. Hello, Andrew. I see there is a difference in that sense. Yes, exactly. That's what I mean. It's like there is, generally in most games, there's always a player who is in control of a particular time on the table, but it means that you might not be able to do everything that you want to in a non-IGO. Hello, Andrew. More Prussians, same Prussians, Andrew. The same ones as before. I've just been neglecting them because I've been painting other things. They've just been sitting there for a while, so I thought I'm going to force myself to do it by doing a live stream. And what are we talking about? I think that Johnny Reb 2 had the best mechanic, where a unit moved or fired depending upon its orders. Here, fire first, move, hold. Okay, so that's just like that's quite an old school thing, isn't it? Actually giving units specific orders and saying you do this, you do that. I've never played Johnny Reb 2. I think the name rings a bell. I'm sure I've heard of it at some point, and that kind of, yeah, I mean, that takes the impetus out of the player's hands and gives it over to the orders, doesn't it? You basically put your order down and they kind of have to follow it out, which is okay, but I guess from my point of view it doesn't allow you to react to things, because you're reacting to something that has already happened. You're thinking, right, well, I'm going to fire now, or I'm going to move, or I'm going to hold here because I don't think the enemy will. I can understand it from a certainly from a, you know, a high level army type game. You think you prefer random turn length for all the options, gives a feel for focus, initiative and pushes, keeping the player in control of the actions he prioritises. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing with stuff like Chain of Command. It's that the turn isn't fixed. It isn't a fixed amount of time. It's not like, right, this is 2 minutes and in these 2 minutes you can do this. It could be, could be 10 seconds, it could be 20 minutes. Well, it probably isn't, because the game will be over by then. But you know, it's completely variable, and it's how quick the armies are reacting to one another within that variable time. That's the thing that's interesting in it, and it's, you know, initiative and the way that commanders work. If you've got the initiative and you've got the enemy on the back foot, then you are just going to keep you're going to keep following up with your attack, or with your pressing on a particular area, aren't you? You know, and I think that again reflects reality to an extent within the confines of a game, really. You go with interruption, like ambushing, Overwatch, reserve moves, and so forth. It's pretty good also. Yeah, rapid fire kind of did that, where basically you could interrupt your enemy's movement and fire at them if they got into a particular spot. But yeah, it didn't always happen. Yeah, as I said, that just felt slightly clunky when I look back on it now and I play it again. But you know, played it for 20 plus years and never had an issue with it. So it served its purpose, and that's the main thing at the end of the day. Had plenty of good games out of it. If people like it, they like it. But I think with rapid fire, we got to a point where we were actually using card activations for units. We'd also changed the firing chart into a bucket of dice version, so to speed things up. So the game just wasn't the game. Wasn't rapid fire anymore. We absolutely ripped all of the original rules out of it. It was literally it was rapid fire in name only by the time we'd finished with it. I suppose that just shows we were kind of, me and my pals in particular, were just moving on to different gaming realms, or different experiences in gaming. Just do these couple of guys with the old things here. There's quite a lot more on these than I thought there was, but once I've broken the back of them with the block painting, that's the actual highlighting of them is pretty quick. It only takes about half an hour or so. This is the bit that's the hardest bit, the boringest bit. Well, that sparked a lively debate, didn't it? And an interesting discussion there. I might treat myself to a game of Arkham Horror this afternoon. That's what I might do. So I was thinking of doing a square bashing game live today. You can see it's actually set up behind me there, but I might clear it away, and I'm just not feeling it. It's because I played a game of Through the Mud and the Blood yesterday, and I will use the British cavalry for the first time, using them as Indian cavalry, and on the attack on High Wood, and they got absolutely massacred. It was my own fault. I should have charged the German blind straight away instead of trying to spot them, because it gave the Germans a chance to fire at the British. So I was thinking about trying to redeem the cavalry by using them in square bashing. So I've never used cavalry in square bashing before. So I thought if I do that, I can at least give them their hour of victory, or try to anyway. Not let them get as hammered as they did yesterday. Right, I'm just going to finish off these things. It's coming up on an hour here, and it's just gone 12. So I'm going to finish off these covering fire markers, and I think that might be me done for now. going a bit blind looking at these Prussians. Now, I've got quite a lot done on them. There's a bit left, but I just kind of want to just wait it out and do them in batches. I'll say just have a break as well. I always say I've played miniature war games with a similar unit activation as a Memoir 44. That was pretty interesting. Yeah, I can imagine that again. I mean, it's a really nice system, the Command and Colours system, where you can only you have to play the cards that you have in your hand, and you can only move them in certain areas. Again, that's quite innovative, really, and it kind of just it's that command and control or loss of it, that allows you to or doesn't allow you to do things. All right, Miles. Thanks for being a part of it. I'm going to be signing out myself in a minute anyway. Go France. Well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. It was a fighting draw last time, so we'll see. See what happens with France. But we should have another game at some point in the future, especially since it puts my subscribers up. Just so you know, these are covering fire markers. I got them from Sabotaged 3D prints. They're for Chain of Command, and I'm just painting them up just to give them a nice look for the tabletop, and also to remind me to actually use them at some point as well when I'm playing the game, because I always forget. But I'm just giving them a quick ink wash. They will then be dry brushed later on, and I will ink the covering fire lettering in as well. I'll just fill that in with ink, and then they will look quite smart. Right, so that's them done. So I don't think I'm going to do much else on these Prussians for now, simply because I was about to go blind, so I want to come back to them, and I'm going to come back to them at some point later. So for now, I'm going to say thank you for watching, everybody, and have a good afternoon. Carry on painting if you're painting, and I shall see you on the next live stream.